Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Jimmy Dore Show. I'm here with Ron Placone and Steph Zamorano, the miserable liberal.
Hello, Jimmy.
Look at that T-shirt that she has on. Look at that.
You mean this one, Jim?
That's right.
So cool.
Thanks, Ron.
I'm jealous. I just have an astronaut cat. I don't have a cool Jimmy Dore shirt.
Well, you should get one, Ron.
I know. I got to get one.
Okay, I'm going to get one, too. I look good in T-shirts. There's certain T-shirts I do look okay in. Not that I look good in regular shirts either, but I try. So you get the link right there. You can get the mugs, Jimmy Dore Show mugs. You can get the T-shirts and everything, and it's a great way to help support the show. So thanks for doing that. Right now we're talking about Houston, and we're talking about the flood, and we're talking about the hypocrisy of the Texas Republicans who voted against Sandy relief aid. If you remember that, a lot of Texas Republicans voted against relief for Sandy. In fact, they didn't pass that Sandy relief bill until about 90 days after the hurricane, correct? Wasn't it like 3 months?
Correct.
Yeah, it took a long time to pass that bill. And here is Congressman Randy Weber from the Texas's the fighting 14th Congressional District. He's on the phone on CNN. That's him right there. That's Randy Weber. This is Randy Weber. That's his face. And here, listen to what they talk about the hypocrisy, and let's talk about it.
And Congressman, we have to ask you this. 4 years ago, you proposed a federal funding for relief for victims of Superstorm Sandy. Why did you oppose that at that time? And do you think it's hypocritical, as some are saying now, for you to be seeking federal assistance for your area? Obviously, the people there need it. Nobody's disputing that. But in hindsight, do you regret opposing that funding for Sandy victims?
Jim, I was very clear at the time that there was additional measures thrown into that bill. The Smithsonian Institute, there was a couple of parks. There's $1 million for some upgrades, different parks and whatnot.
So that's been the standard response. When someone asks one of those Republicans who voted against Sandy relief money, they'll say, oh, I would have voted for it, but there was too much pork in that bill. There was some problems with that bill. I wanted to help the victims, but there was some pork in that bill. There wasn't, and thank God the CNN guy knows that.
So there was actually what I would call pork attached to that bill, which I did not believe belonged on that bill. I had that discussion with leadership at the time. I said, they told them, you take that off that bill, I'm good to go.
And what we understand, Congressman, from looking into this morning, is that there really wasn't very much pork at all in that bill. There have been a couple of fact-check reports to come out just today saying there wasn't really much of any pork in that legislation. There was some additional spending on other items, but it was very small with respect to and compared to the vast majority of that funding, which did go to disaster relief. Are you hopeful this time that people don't play politics with this sort of thing?
Absolutely. Look, I've been a proponent from day one, if you looked at my voting record, on omnibuses and continuing resolutions, with one exception, because it lifted the oil embargo of the ban that we had in place in 1973. I voted against all of those because I think bills should be standalone. Appropriations should be passed on their merit and not simply joined with something else to make it palatable.
Right. But in a perfect world, I mean, obviously things are going to be thrown into bills that you don't like. In hindsight, though, do you think you should have voted for that Sandy legislation? And do you maybe have some convincing to do with some of your colleagues? Or you're going to have to look some of your colleagues in the face from up in the Northeast and say, look, I know I voted against this back then, but I need your help now?
Well, we'll have that discussion. I think most of them are understanding that when you've got someone who votes against something for a particular reason, you may not have to agree with the reason, but I'm pretty easy to get along with. I have a good relationship. Joe Kennedy called me yesterday. We had a lot of discussions with our friends across the aisle, and even with the Republicans that we may have a difference with. You know, when you've got a good reason, you explain it, and I think you're nice about it. Look, let's work on this together. As you know, Peter King's already tweeted out he intends to vote for the bill, and so I think you're going to see us come together. As long as someone has a good reason, a logical reason, in my estimation, they're not belligerent or condescending about it, or gloating about it, I think we all get together and we work on it. So I think you're going to see us come together on it.
See, I'm just a good guy. I'm reasonable. I got friends who are Democrats, and, I'm reasonable. As long as you're not a dick. I mean, if you're a dick, then yeah, I'll screw over your constituents if you're a dick. What? What does he even say? So I know what he's saying. He's trying to act like he's a great guy, and I was all for. Hey, Peter. So is he anything else to say?
All right, Congressman Randy Weber, we hope that's the case and that people put politics aside to help the people in your part of the country there, and all the best to your efforts and those residents down there that you're looking after at this point. Congressman.
Well, that was it. Okay, so yeah, it's nice. Yeah, we have put aside our differences, politics, and I hope we can come together. You know, unlike what I wouldn't come together before. But now I'm going to come together because it's happening to me. And as all Republicans, I don't understand a problem until it affects me personally.
My mama always said, do as I say, not as I do. So vote for this.
Do as I say, not as I do. And that's why everybody should vote for this. So, turns out there's not a lot of pork. But then he let him off the hook. He didn't make him answer the question. He let him off the hook. He kept talking. So now should we go right to Ted Cruz?
Yes.
So here's Ted Cruz. Katie Tour asked him the same question.
Final question, Senator. I know you're busy, and I want to let you get back to doing everything you can out there. But a lot of people are pointing out that you voted against aid for Sandy after that catastrophic storm up in the Northeast, that package back in 2012. And they're pointing at you and saying you're asking for money now when you weren't willing to help the people in the Northeast. What do you have to say to them?
Well, you know, look, there's time for political sniping later. I think our focus needs to be on this crisis and this disaster.
These are people who needed money and who needed funding right after that storm. I covered those people. Many of them, just like those in Houston, lost absolutely everything they owned.
Well, Katie, of course that's right. And the accurate thing to say is that I and a number of others enthusiastically and emphatically supported hurricane relief. The hurricane relief and disaster relief has been a vital federal role for a long, long time, and it should continue. The problem with that particular bill is it became a $50 billion bill that was filled with unrelated pork. 2/3 of that bill had nothing to do with Sandy. And what I said then and still believe now is that it's not right for politicians to exploit a disaster and people are hurting to pay for their own political wish list. Disaster relief needs to be focused on the victims of disaster relief, and I supported that for Sandy, disaster relief there, and I would support that anywhere there's a major disaster without getting distracted by political unnecessary pork spending.
Okay, so I don't know what happened. Did she let him off the hook after that?
Yes, she did. That was it.
So that was that.
She followed up with a question about, I hope your family is doing well.
Oh. Well, at least she asked one question. What else? What can you say? So he did say sniping. She interrupted him, stopped him. So I guess that's about all. And then he knew once she interrupted him that one time that she was not going to interrupt him again. He knew that was okay. Oh, okay. You're going to do pushback on the Republican today. Okay. Well, it's only once. Because if they push back on him twice or three times, he would never come on MSNBC. But here he is. He's on there. Anything? Of course.
Look, I was all about, I was totally fine with FedExing a bucket up there to try to help people out, but they needed actual resources, and fuck that. So enough with your political sniping.
Well, how about we showed in the other clip that the CNN reporter said, no, actually, we did some fact-checking on that bill, and it turns out there wasn't any pork at all.
But moving on.
He just moved on. But Katie Tour did not have that information. So, kudos to her for at least bringing it up and pushing back and saying it's not political sniping. But I wish she would have had that information when she could have said, no, it wasn't pork. You're just making that up. I would love to see how Ted Cruz handled that. He'd probably just continue to lie.
Well, here's the thing that, Texas is facing catastrophe, and they are now going to have to rely on the government to help them. You mean they have to figure out that the government actually will work for the people?
You mean they're going to have to use socialism now? They're going to use socialism now. So they're going to have first responders, meaning firemen and Coast Guard and policemen and what have you, and EMTs and all that. That's called socialism. That's what that's called. That's called the government hires people to go help people. That's called socialism. That's what the Army is. That's what the Navy is. That's what the Coast Guard is. That's what firemen are. That's what when the government opens shelters, that's socialism.
Yeah, and who'd have thought profit margins on a piece of paper couldn't stop a disaster?
That's so weird.
Never knew.
You would
so strange.
I thought that. I thought it could. That's so weird. So it's that. So that's a nice little fun sideshow to watch Republicans get called out on their hypocrisy. But if hypocrisy could undo a politician, we'd have an empty Congress right now, and White House and State House and city councils. So, but don't you wish hypocrisy could undo that'd be great. Unfortunately, it can't, and we're stuck. Hey everybody, we have 2 live Jimmy Dore shows in September. September 25th, we're in San Diego, and September 18th in Burbank, California. Get your tickets right there. There's a link right there.